Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about it. You're here to talk about it. We'll talk about it. Let's talk about racism, um, the issues in our society. I don't know why. Right? I felt led to make this video, say that, but I woke up today and it was in my head. Like I was what is it? Green Book? Is that the movie with Mahershala Ali? It's book. Green Book. Yeah, just Green Book, not the Green Book, just Green Book. But the scene I had seen it the other day, from the end of the movie where, well, close to the end of the movie where they expect him to play, for the restaurant, but they're not allowing him to eat at the restaurant. Um, it was in my mind this morning. Maybe it was God, maybe it was stress. I don't. It was on my mind. Because we've gotten to a point in our society where there's a racial divide. There's this, and it's not based on race, right? It's based on like politics at this point. So I want to talk about it, and if you're weak-minded, please leave, because you're not going to listen. If you're weak-minded, please leave because you're not going to listen. You're not going to want to hear this. You're not going to uh, have an objective mind about it. You're going to take everything I say personally. Um, and you're not gonna have any desire to listen to this video and actually listen to everything that I'm saying. So if that's you, leave now. Don't waste my time. Don't waste your time. Move on with your life. Move on to something more important for you, and just get on to something. Um, because you don't want to be in. You don't want to have all the information. I'm by the way, I'm merely providing my own perspective based upon everything that I've known in my life, right? Um, when it comes to race and racism, and I'm not saying get about it ever existed, but let's leave slavery out of the equation, right? Slavery was horrible. It's happened to African Americans. It's happened to Black Americans. It's happened to Irish Americans. It's happened to um, Jews. It's happened to pretty like slavery's been a thing, right? It still exists in some places of the world today. It's it's existed on such a grand scale before. It's terrible. Everyone knows that. Everyone accepts that we know personally, right? In America, it's horrible. Uh, but it's not relevant. I wouldn't say not relevant. It's not the biggest factor in quote unquote racism today. I want to talk about America today. And slavery just really isn't that much of a factor in that at this point. I hope we can get past that. If we can't get past that, and that's you and you're taking it personally, like I said. Um, but the Green Book is basically what I talk about because in today's society, that is the most recent form and stigma of racism that affects people today, right? Um, you're a part of society. You're good enough to play for us, but you're not good enough to eat with us, type of thing, right? That's the most recent in American history that racism systemic has been a thing. But now we're talking about systemic racism when I don't believe it exists. Let me explain. So most people would agree, and I want to try to start a little bit on common ground. Most people would agree um, that in that example, the only way to have any form of status or influence or power or ability to operate in society in a non negative stance is to either one, uh, do the whole dog and pony show thing, right? And dance for whoever's got power over you, or um, the other option was to be right now. What we're seeing is a lot of people that are black in the Democrat Party. Right? They're elitist, they're classist, they're talking down to people of inferiority to them based upon their amount of influence or money, basically. And those were the only two ways to have influence in that, and as a Black American, basically, is what they're kind of implying there. And I can concede that, right? I can concede that that is probably the most recent form of racism. But with that in mind, racism still exists. Systemic racism is not. Let me talk. Individuals are racist completely, and every individual has prejudice. Some of it's based in race, some of it's based in uh, status, some of it's based in class, whatever. Prejudice exists. It's always has existed, always will exist. There are people who have bias. That's what prejudice is. It's bias, um, based upon not being a part of the group, essentially. Anyway, um, that's not what I want to talk. But what I am talking about is that I would say anyone who has power and authority over you has the potential to abuse that power and authority, right? And they will base their right to abuse that power and authority based on anything they can base it on, whether it be race, skin color, something that, you know, when in a very cosmetic interaction, a very short interaction, the only thing they can really base it off of is looks, right? or whatever. Um, it could be something as simple as being an Android person or a iPhone snob, or maybe it's the car you drive, maybe it's the people you hang out with, maybe it's the way you talk. Um, anyone who has power and authority will abuse that power and authority, or not anyone will, but anyone has the potential to abuse that power and authority over you based upon whatever they want to base it on. So there are people who may have power and authority over you. Oh, thanks. Ooh, money. Did I get two check? We'll look at that in a second. Um, anybody who has that power and authority has the potential to abuse that power and authority, and they will base it on whatever they want to base it on. And if you're someone who is looking to find evidence of systemic racism and the fact of people having power and authority facing that uh, abuse of power and authority based on race, you're going to find that. But what I'm saying is that that's not unique to race. It isn't something that is based solely on race. There are black cops that will abuse their power and authority over white people based upon them being white. Right? It's not as common because there's statistically less black cops, right? And more white people, right? So it's less common because there's more white people than black people in America. It's just what it is. Um, and that's not something you're gonna get rid of. It's not something that's just gonna stop, right? Uh, it's not something that's gonna be like, you know, America's suddenly gonna be a quarter black, quarter white, quarter Latino, quarter Asian, uh, or split it up. However, it needs to be split up for each equal representation. It's not gonna just become that one day. Well, one day it may, but it's not gonna get that way anytime soon. Um, but the reason is mindset that this is an issue, right? Because that's why I want to talk about it being recent, right? With the Green Book. For many people, that's grandparents. That's that reason. It's people who are still alive today, right? And what they've done is they've experienced. And I'm not saying it's too late for them. The mind can always change, right? But today, that's not the case, right? Today, there aren't as many because, like I said, there's still people with power and authority that will potentially use abuse that power and authority. But on a systemic scale, on a large scale, it's not the case where it's if you're black, you're good enough to play for us, but not eat with us type of thing. I would say definitely those born after the late 80s, early 90s, my generation basically. Um, the majority of people that I know personally, both with power and without power, couldn't care less. Couldn't care less what race you are, what status you are, whatever you are. The like people born, like I said, late 80s, early 90s, my generation, I think we grew up with this mentality of treat the janitor the same as the CEO. And that applies to all things, not just status, not just influence, race, people who look different than you. No matter what, treat everyone the same, right? I think we grew up a lot with that mentality. Um, Gen Z, however, has shifted into this mentality of you need reparations because you're you're personally affected by that, and you're not. You're not. Um, like I said, you'll find evidence of it if you're looking for evidence. If you look for red cars this week, you're gonna find millions and millions of red cars, and you be like, I've never seen a red car before. If you start looking for grasshoppers this week, you're gonna see a lot more grasshoppers than you've ever seen in your life, even though you've passed 80 billion grasshoppers before. It is what it is. Um, and that mindset comes from people who have lived it and who are still alive today, which, like I said, I can't blame them. Can't blame them. They've lived through it, right? Um, but they've basically told their sons and daughters, most people's parents at this point, that it's true. And they've seen that it's true because they found evidence that it's true because that's what their mind's focusing on. And they've in turn done the same thing for this generation and Gen Z, right? And it's not that you're not going to find evidence of it. It's that it's not systemic. It's not something that it's ingrained uh, to make you stay down, right? If you focus on it, you will see it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what situation we're talking about. You will always see evidence of it. If I wanted to be a victim, I would see evidence of me being right of external forces keeping me down. Because classism is a thing. Classism is certainly a thing, right? Um, doesn't mean I don't want to be rich. Doesn't mean I don't want to have influence, right? Um, but the only thing that I'm saying is that we have this situation in our society that's causing this massive divide that does not need to be there. Does not at all in any way, shape, or form. And if we let it, it's going to tear this country apart. Which we're talking, you know, people I know, uh, in today's revelations, evidence of all that kind of stuff. Which I don't. I would say America's probably not long, long for this world at this point. I think it has an expiration date that's coming up, um, based upon evidence in the Bible and the way things are going and the way people are acting. I don't know if it'll be a civil war, a culture war, um, an external war. I don't, but I don't think America itself is going to last that much longer. Don't get me wrong. always continue to operate as if it'll never end, but understand that it may. And it is what it is. Something we got to deal with. But um, that's my thoughts, right? Racism exists. There are individuals that are certainly racist. Prejudice 100% exists. Everyone has some level of prejudice. Um, I don't know if you're ever going to see it, but there's a video that I saw one time. Haven't seen it since. I've googled it. I've looked it up. I've tried to find it. If you find it, drop it in the comments. But there was a video after Will Smith had done Concussion, football movie Concussion. There was a panel, and they were talking all kinds of subjects and having all kinds of conversations. Um, and they started talking about race. And Will Smith was sitting there. He was saying something along the lines of uh, he has rarely ever experienced racism. Racism is evil, right? When someone's racist, you can feel it. It's an aura. Like it before anyone says a word, before anyone shoots a look, right? Like you could be completely across the room, you could sense that that person is a racist. It's in body language, it's in everything. Um, and when someone's a racist and you're of a different race, you don't want to associate with that person at all. You already know. There's already that sense, I want nothing to do with this person. And he's like, I've rarely ever experienced racism. Prejudice, I deal with every day, no matter what. No matter where I go, I deal with prejudice every day. That's because every single person has some level of prejudice. If you're white and you go to a black neighborhood, you're going to sense prejudice. If you're black and you go to an all white neighborhood, you're going to sense prejudice. If you're rich and you go to a poor neighborhood, you're going to sense prejudice. If you're poor, you go to a rich neighborhood, you're going to sense prejudice. Sometimes it's not even there. I mean, it's exists, but sometimes it's not to the level that you feel it, right? You could roll up into a nice looking neighborhood in a janky car and immediately like, oh, everyone hates me. And there's not a soul on the street. There's not anyone looking out their window. No one even sees your car. Doesn't factor into their day, right? Um, and that's our own perception. And I think we need to get rid of this system where we're talking about objective truth being wrong, being racist, being sexist, being um, an evil. Objective truth has to exist, right? Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Everyone is entitled to their own subjective truth, their own perception of reality. Um, but objective truth still matters, no matter what. Because once objective truth becomes non-existent or a fallacy or something wrong, um, everyone can be manipulated. And you're seeing that with the Democratic Party right now. You're seeing that, right? Objective truth doesn't matter, so it doesn't matter how much they lie to get what they want. It's what's happening. Um, so I want everyone to consider that. I want everyone to think about that. All I'm doing is presenting perspective that it feels like I needed to put out for people to listen. Um, if you're looking for evidence of something evil, you're going to find evidence of something evil. If you're looking for evidence of systemic racism, you're going to find evidence of systemic racism because you're going to encounter someone with power or authority over you in some way, shape, or form, be it a cop, be it a teacher, be it a pastor, be it a whatever. Someone, somewhere, someday is going to likely abuse their authority over you and use whatever means or reason they can do so. And 9 times out of 10, if it's going to be a quick interaction, the only thing they can base it off of is what they see. what they're going to see is a difference in race. That doesn't mean the system's racist. It means that individual is racist. And it goes the other way around. It'll happen the other way around to someone somewhere, somehow. Most people, the other way around, who are not told that the system is racist against them, won't see it because they're taught that they can't be racist against you. So they won't look for evidence of it. So they'll never see it, even though it's just as true one way as it is the other. Um, my name's Stephen Nichols. I have a Twitch and a YouTube channel. Obviously, you're seeing this on YouTube. I have a Twitch channel. I haven't been live on either in quite a while. I haven't played video games in quite a while. I played Civilization last night, but I didn't stream it. I haven't streamed in quite a while. I've taken some time off, starting some factory work. I'll probably be back at some point, but it was just put on my heart to put this video out here. Um, hopefully, hopefully there's a perspective in this. If you've made it this far, if there's, there's a, if you've made it this far, hopefully there's some perspective that you can draw off of that's going to make your life a whole lot better. But yeah, my name's Stephen Nichols. I'm gonna throw a WordPress launch page down in the description. I'll probably add it as a comment too. If you want to check out all my social medias, like I said, I have a Twitch. Like I said, I haven't been on there forever. I've got TikTok. I probably upload a TikTok most often. Obviously, the YouTube page is here. Got Twitter. I post on Twitter every now and then. I don't really like Twitter, but I post on Twitter every now and then. I have an Instagram. I haven't used that. I'll probably start at some point once I get things up and rolling. I do want to make the Infuego entourage. So if I do get back to streaming, I hope you'll become a part of that, and I hope you'll use that to help build other people up, and help our society get their minds right, and help our society um, get to some unity. Hopefully, we can push back Armageddon. We can push back Revelations as far out as we can. Maybe we can. Maybe we could stay the execution that God has for us, by not letting our society rot and deteriorate into nothing. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully we can get things back to some positivity. Uh, and I hope to see you guys again. All right. Have a great day.